Last Friday I was at the airport and my wife called me and said, it's raining, it's windy, it's getting dark, and you have a problem, Antti. The wipers are not working, turning lights are not working, and the headlights are also off from the car. But I'm decided to go to the summer cottage and I will go there by road bike. And if you are not able to fix the car, you have to do the same. Well, I ended up cycling 100 kilometers, but you can count on biofuels. You heard about bioeconomy and its size, and it's really huge in Finland. It's about 63 billion euros every year, the output of our bioeconomy. And 3/4 is coming from the forest-based sector. And as Jussi told, we wanted to see how digitalization or the set of enabling technologies that is included in this term could boost the biomass sector. And we were looking at different value chains and then we generated rather simple roadmaps how we could go further in this digitalization. And I will take a couple of examples what we did and how we see the future evolving. First, when I talk about digitalization in the context of forest industries and especially the supply of woody biomass to the forest industries, I think that it's not so very new as the basic idea. But what we have now, we are really much aiming at multi-layer forest resource and condition databases so that every operator that is doing something in the forest, the buyer of the wood, the machine operator has the same information and it's connected to the coordinates. So that, for instance, he can immediately see where not to drive and where are hotspots of biodiversity, for instance. And then we need really forecasts of trees and harvesting conditions, not only general forecasts, but like weather forecast and day by day and even hour by hour trafficability data, especially in springtime when we have difficulties to move on the road network. And then more recently we have noticed that really we need to have forecasts of material demand, and that needs to be communicated by the supply chain. Otherwise the supply chain can't plan in advance their operations, and still there are huge seasonal variations and low utilization grade of the harvesting and transport fleet. But through better communication, this can be greatly improved. Another topic is the crowdsourcing or outsourcing of data acquiring and using bigger groups of people to collect the data. Right now, we already have a lot of game and rare animals scouting done by the nature activists and especially hunters, but more and more we are interested in insect outbreaks and scouting them as early as possible. And actually right now the climate change is threatening the biobase of the bioeconomy, not only in southern Europe where we have seen vast forest fires, or in Central Europe where half of the industrial roundwood is sourced from forest damage area already, for instance in countries like Austria and Czech Republic. So to avoid massive outbreaks of insects, we need to see them quick, and there we can use forest owners and forest experts who can tell at least that what kind of tree species has been attacked, where the location is, and once we are all the time following the situation on the map, we can see that there is a spot where we have to do something. Motivation can be a challenge. There has been sort of positive motivation to collect the data and report it. Some years ago we tried to ask people that if they could locate good mushroom and berry hotspot on the map, but it never happened. But what has seemed to be working well is to use youngsters in 4-H or 4H clubs to monitor how berries are developing, what is the production volume to be, and we can do better forecasts of berry and mushroom yields for the coming autumn. Data is not always statistically sound. Problem is that people don't go straight lines and make observations. They go the summer cottage paths and collect data sort of randomly in a wrong way. And that's a statistical challenge to check how these observations can be generalized over a larger geographic area. And therefore the interpretation of the data needs expertise. But anyway, there are a lot of enabling technologies available, and mobile phone with its apps is definitely the most important thing. And on top of that, we need the mobile network. And when we combine this crowdsourced data with the expert knowledge, we get pretty good interpretation of the data, and we can generalize it pretty well. And on top of that, we can save a lot of money. You have heard that we don't have that much funds to collect data that we used to collect in the past, for instance, in our institute. One thing that right now whole Europe is researching in the forest sector is the reduced site impact. And there are many solutions already in use. This is showing the distance of the groundwater from the surface of the ground, which is pretty well describing how heavy machine and how many times can drive on this ground. And actually there are many other solutions aiming at the situation where we could really predict hour by hour the trafficability. And to summarize the digitalization of forest-based bioeconomy, sometimes it feels almost so yesterday. There is so much going on already, and companies have been working with it without that general title for years. But now, as we heard before, we have much larger data available, better transmission and especially distribution of data to manage the data. And we can simplify by saying that really everything that we do in research should end up to a digital map layer that can be used by anybody who is working in sourcing. Finally, I want to advertise Pitch Finland event for bioeconomy startups that is coming in November here in Helsinki, and it's the meeting point of angel financiers and startups so that you could boost the bioeconomy by new ideas and technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, finally in the Sunday evening in the summer cottage before going home, I was pretty stressed because I desperately needed the car functioning on Monday. And I'm not a mechanic. But then I decided to use Dr. Google and put their Dodge, bloody American car, and blinkers are not working, wipers are not working. And there was a YouTube video where a young guy was with a cell phone taking a video and telling that exactly the symptoms that my wife had told me. And he said that you might first think it's the fuse box, but that's not the thing. You just have to take away the ground of your battery and put it back after 7 minutes. And I thought that this must be a joke. But I was desperate and I did it. I put it back, started the car, and everything was working. So rebooting helps, but I'm not suggesting you to reboot everything, but reboost the bioeconomy. Thank you for your attention.